Welcome to our Shadows and Hope service. We hope this Vesper service of readings, prayers, and music opens a safe space to acknowledge that the holidays aren't always the most wonderful time of the year for everyone each and every day. And that can be for a multitude of reasons. Yet this isn't a gloomy service, even as we recognize that there are shadows that include grief, illness, and loneliness. For we also profess that within those shadows, there is light from Emmanuel, God with us and among us. So as we take this time to stand with each other and stand in those shadows, let us also remind each other that even when we cannot see it ourselves, the light and the hope of God is also present. So come, O come, Emmanuel, into our hearts. O come, Emmanuel, into our spirits. O come, Emmanuel, into our very beings, sowing hope and joy within the shadows.
God's blessings to you. Comfort, O comfort my people, says your Lord. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. We light this candle within the shadow cast by the people who have died of COVID and in memory of loved ones no longer with us. May this light be a sign that even as you comfort us, Emmanuel, you grieve with us.
excerpt from a letter of Dietrich Bonhoeffer to his fiancée, Maria von Weidemeyer, from prison, written on December 13th, 1943. Be brave for my sake, dearest Maria, even if this letter is your only token of my love at Christmastide. We shall both experience a few dark hours. Why should we disguise that from each other? And then, just when everything is bearing down on us to such an extent that we can scarcely withstand it, the Christmas message comes to tell us that all our ideas are wrong and that what we take to be evil and dark is really good and light because it comes from God. Our eyes are at fault, that is all. God is in the manger, wealth in poverty, light in darkness, succor in abandonment. No evil can befall us. Whatever men may do to us, they cannot but serve the God who is secretly revealed as love and rules the world and our lives. We light the second candle within the shadow cast by COVID on the lives of all worldwide who have had it, those who have lost jobs, and those who have had their dreams altered or erased. God, remind us through this light that you are Emmanuel, our presence with us in the midst of our fears and our despair.
This is a reading from God with Us by the poet Lucy Shaw. In winter, it seems that the season of spring will never come. And in both Advent and Lent, it's the waiting that's hard. The in-between of divine promise and its fulfillment. Most of us find ourselves dangling in this hiatus, which, in the interval, may seem a waste of time. But the longer we wait, the larger we become, and the more joyful our expectancy. With such motivation, we can wait as we sense that God is indeed with us and at work within us, as he was with Mary as the child grew within her. The lighting of the third candle is for those who are feeling alone and isolated. We light this candle within the shadow of loneliness and isolation. May its light indicate that you are Emmanuel, God with us and within us, especially when we feel the most alone.
Words by pastor and theologian Frederick Buechner. Advent means coming, of course, and the promise of Advent is that what is coming is an unimaginable invasion. What is coming upon the world is the light of the world. It is Christ. That is the comfort of it. The challenge of it is that it has not come yet. Only the hope for it has come, only the longing for it. In the meantime, we are in the dark, and the dark, God knows, is also in us. We watch and wait for a holiness to heal us and to hallow us, to liberate us from the dark. Advent is like the hush of a theater just before the curtain rises. It's like the hazy ring around the winter moon that means the coming of snow, which will turn the night lights to silver. Soon, but for the time being, darkness is where we are. We light this candle within the shadows cast by depression and other illnesses of the mind. Holy One, reassure us through its light, Emmanuel, that there will come a time when we will be liberated into your light.
The Gospel of John opens with powerful words, a different telling, if you will, of the Nativity story. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. We light this final candle as a candle of hope. We light this as a sign of hope, a sign of expectation that God's love will lessen the shadows in our lives, and that even the darkest moments cannot overcome that light. Since the early days of this pandemic back in March, I've had the pleasure and the honor of each and every day sharing online a poem and a prayer. Many folks have been kind enough to speak to me and mention that it's been a word of encouragement for them, but quite honestly, I do it as much for myself as for anyone else. For in diving into the world's poetry, I often find words that bring comfort to me in the midst of this ongoing pandemic. That, coupled with a prayer to remind me and those who listen that God is with us. So I share with you on this afternoon a poem that may speak to you in a special way. For it's called The Shepherd Left Behind. And in this Christmas season, you may feel that you've been left behind. But hear these words of Mildred Plew Merriman, and hear the hope that they contain. The hour is late, the shepherds said, and the miles are long to wind. You do stay here with the sheep instead. And they left the lad behind. He heard their feet in the dark ravine, the drop of the sheepfold bars, and then blue stillness filled and flowed between the sheep and stars. He sat him down to wait for dawn, his crook across his knees, and thought of the shepherds moving on under the olive trees. Herding his flocks in Palestine, he thought, that lad of old, how some must follow the angel's sign and some must tend the fold. And as he mused, he took his pipe. 'Twas a shepherd's pipe he had, and there, while the frosty stars grew ripe and shone on the shepherd lad, the first sweet Christmas carol twined from the willow's slender stem, blown by the shepherd left behind to the babe of Bethlehem. Please pray with me. Holy One, in those times and those days when we feel left behind in grief or depression, sadness or concern, might we remember that you are with us, holding us up, giving us strength, Emmanuel. And might we seek to find the music that lies hidden within, so that we too might up carols and hymns in praise of the babe of Bethlehem. Amen. Sisters and brothers, no matter the darkness that may encompass you, might you remember that the light of Christ made known in this season and in every season cannot be extinguished, and that that light dwells in you, lives in you, like a babe in a manger, just waiting to grow and develop. Might you be blessed by the knowledge of that light, and might it grow in you. Amen.